Sound check good. Thank you so much, Sierra. Good morning, Board of Commissioners. We will call this Tuesday, October 26, 2021 special call meeting to order. I will start with roll call this morning. Roll call District 1, Commissioner Henry Mitchell III.
Present.
Okay.
District 2, Commissioner Vice Chairman Kelly Robinson.
Present.
District 3, Commissioner Terenia Carthen.
Present.
District 4, Commissioner Ann Jones-Guider.
Present.
Ramona Jackson-Jones, Chairman, present. We have a quorum. Board of Commissioners, thank you so much for joining us again this morning for this special call meeting. I appreciate you taking time out of your schedules. All right, Board of Commissioners, we'll dive right into our business items. We have 4 business items this morning, and we'll start with tab number 1. Certainly, and this business item is for, certainly I'll be calling a motion, but certainly we'll read it first. Authorization to approve an MOU with Media Miracles Incorporation for $23,000 and the next entrepreneur for LLC $21,500 for the Douglas County Financial Literacy Program, and authorize the chairman to sign all related documents subject to final legal review. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Guider.
Tiffany, could you explain this and what it is and who
Sure.
the people are that we're signing an MOU with?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Commissioner Guider. So as we know, back in December 15th of 2020, the board authorized a resolution to provide funding to the community. One of the parts of the funding was for economic stability. And this was set aside by the coronavirus response funding resolution dated December 15th by the Board of Commissioners. This program the purpose of the program is to educate and empower citizens of Douglas County in 2 main areas: financial literacy and entrepreneurship. What we're coming before the board today is asking for the authorization to enter into a MOU agreement with 2 companies. The first one is Media Miracles Incorporated, and they will produce a series of videos focusing on the financial literacy and entrepreneurship aspects of the program. And the next Entrepreneur LLC, they will determine the content for the fundamental skills modules that will be used for the program. These agreements are still subject to final legal review, but we're coming before the board today just asking for approval to start entering into the negotiations and to create the MOU.
Okay, are you there, Tiffany?
Yes, I'm here.
My screen's changing. I'm familiar with Media Miracles. They did the courthouse communications, I guess the FEMIN and everything. But who is Next Entrepreneur?
Yes, ma'am. So Next Entrepreneur LLC, they provide information helping with any type of like financial literacy programs and entrepreneurship. Dr. Greg Henley is the owner of the company, and he has worked with Douglas County before in different arenas, but he will be helping to produce the content for these videos.
Okay, I'm just not familiar with them.
Mm-hmm.
But are they a Douglas County corporation?
I don't know that information, but I can get that information for you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, board. Any other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Remarks? Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tiffany, for providing some background on this program. Again, this program is designed as part 2 of 1. The first program we did was the grant program, which is basically called the board set aside, I think it was roughly $866,000, both for what we call community stability, economic stability, technology, and public health, which I think we did about $1.5 million. It's just to give full story. All right, so this is round 1. This is the Trump era money, not the Biden. It's not ARP, American Recovery Plan. This is the initial one. And the design was in the business stability that the grant program, we took half that money as a board, and half of it was for a grant program, which is the micro grants for $2,500. Anybody that was in unincorporated Douglas County would be eligible. So that was part A. We gave the citizens a fish. But again, that wasn't good enough. In other words, this part of the program is to teach them how to fish, right? In other words, so it's the financial literacy, entrepreneurship literacy. It's called the fundamentals. So just want to give a little bit more background regarding that. Again, Miracle Medias, we know who, the value that they brought to us, obviously the expertise, an Emmy award-winning organization that was here to provide us stability in our broadcasting. And so this was part of their scope of work that they would handle this. Dr. Greg Henley, of course, did our entrepreneurship studies, in which back in 2011, the first study that he did, the second one, Madam Chair, during your administration, that he reset it. Dr. Henley obviously is a bona fide PhD, works at Georgia Tech. There's some other academics that are at the table. The University of West Georgia is part of the Advisory Council, Georgia Highland, Mercer, to name a few, that will be involved in creating the content. So just want to give a little bit more background that this is academically sound. Obviously, it's going to be broadcast quality. And so just to give context, it says we move from obviously giving away fishes. Now it's to teach people the fundamentals, like, okay, let's get back to the basics. So I just want to give a little bit more context, Madam Chair. Thank you. I yield the floor.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. Okay, if there's nothing else, any other comments, commissioners, before call the, well, I've already called the question. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor for the commissioners. We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes.
Chairman, it looks like we might have had some technical difficulties. I'm going to start that vote again, if that's okay.
Okay.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, Board of Commissioners, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote and the motion carries. So thank you. All right, Board of Commissioners, we're going to move on to tab number 2, which is approval of the ARPA funding project list. We have our county administrator this morning who will certainly review the list with us. We all had opportunity to review the list in advance, and certainly as of, when I call the questions, I encourage you all to ask questions at that time, Board of Commissioners. County Administrator Subadan, if you would please review the slide with the Board of Commissioners and the citizens of Douglas County.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for allowing us to bring the American Rescue Plan Act information to you for your consideration. Rick, could you go ahead and bring up the slideshow for me, please? Thank you. Go ahead into presentation mode. Next slide. So good morning again. The Douglas County allocation of the American Rescue Plan Act is $28,425,412, divided into 2 parts. Next slide. 2 equal parts. The funding period is from March 2021 through December 31st, 2024. The first half of our funding was received on July 6th and was deposited in a separate account pursuant to guidelines from the Department of Revenue. The second half will be received 1 year later if our first allocation is spent or encumbered. Next slide, please. The American Rescue Plan framework funding categories are shown on the screen: economic stability, community stability, employee stability, technology, public safety, infrastructure, public health, recreation, and programs. And as you can see on the right, our Douglas Ford 5-year strategic plan neatly overlaps with several of the categories. I do have to say that everything that we're talking about today, even what you approve, is still subject to final guidelines that have not yet been issued from the Department of Revenue. As recently as 4:43 yesterday, I read an email where they've made some proposed some additional changes. So this continues to be a work in progress. The good news is the discussions yesterday really surrounded giving local governments more flexibility. Next slide. And so what we did is visit with each of you and asked you to give us your preferred projects. And so what you'll see on the next 3 slides is a combination of Board of Commissioner requests. These requests are unedited. This is exactly what you asked us for. Of course, inside of a category, we may have summarized the total amounts, but this is completely unedited. And so broadband and infrastructure in year 1, public safety in years 1 and 2, employee stability in years 1 and 2. And the public safety and employee stability are generally surrounding premium pay for staff, which is in the way of pay increases. It would be 10% for public safety in year 1 and 5% for public safety in year 2. And for general regular class employees, it would be 5% in year 1 and 5% in year 2. Pursuant to your direction, public safety includes fire, police, well, sheriff for us, code enforcement, animal services, and the coroner. Next slide, please. Public health is specific to not just our public health department, but also mental health services. Technology is across the board, countywide, to include cybersecurity, and community stability includes several projects that would directly impact the community. Next slide. Economic stability is assistance to businesses, and recreational facilities consistent with the American Rescue Plan Act, outdoor recreation, tourism are all encouraged as part of recovery, which is the purpose for the funding. And then the last category is other, which is project management and year 1 and contingency in year 2. Next slide. And so these combined requests total 22.7 million in year 1, 19.7 in year 2, for a grand total of 42.5 million, which of course is quite a bit in excess of the 28 million that we have been allocated. Each of you have gotten a detailed list of everything in all of those categories, and we do have a separate slide that if you're wanting us to bring up every line item, we can do that. But I'm going to go on to the staff proposed, if that's okay, and then we can look at that other document in more detail after. Madam Chair, Commission, is that okay? Can I keep moving? Or do you want?
Yes, keep moving.
All right. Next slide, please. And so what we did is look at the categories. We did not eliminate any categories. We gave them what we jokingly called a haircut to not eliminate any categories, but reduce them in order to fit within the budget, the budgeted allocate, or I should say the allocated amount that's been granted to us. And so the categories are still all there. Public safety and employee stability was not reduced. It's the same as it was on the commission Board of Commission request. Next slide. You see some slight reductions there in each of those categories: public health, technology, and community civility. Next slide. And the same thing with recreational facilities and other. Each of the categories was reduced. Next slide. In order for us to meet the 28.425412. Next slide. And I think this is an important slide, especially for the community, because often we're asked, well, what did you do with the money? The single greatest category is public safety at 27% and employee stability at 19%, followed by broadband and infrastructure at 17%, community stability at 11%, public health and technology at 10%, and economic stability and recreation at 4%. While we wish we could fund every project, priorities are what we have to look at. And based on your input, we try to reduce without eliminating the things that both yourselves and the community have demonstrated or have expressed as your most important priorities. Next slide, please. And that is everything we had. Rick, if you can bring up that detailed list for me. That was the last document that was emailed.
Yes, ma'am.
And while he's bringing that up, Madam Chair, do you want to go ahead and start to open the floor for questions, or do you want me to go through the detailed list first?
Let me see if we can get that detail list up for you, and then
Sure.
and everything, there you go. And it'll be seamless for the board.
All right, it's a little small, but this is the, can you all see it? This is the commission requests. And so in the first category, could you move that drop down, please, Rick?
Sure. I can increase it a little bit if you want.
No, I think this is fine.
Okay.
So the first category was broadband and infrastructure. And there's funding for the infrastructure, broadband and sewer for the Chapel Hill Innovation Learning Library in District 3. Electric, water, and sewer for future women's restoration and rehab facility in year 2. Increase in broadband in underserved areas of the county, $2 million in year 2. And you will recall that at your last meeting, you authorized an agreement with AT&T, and we will be pursuing state funding for that. We hope to get funded by the state, but if not, this is our backup plan. Or if we get funded less than the need, then this could be additional funding for expansion of broadband, which you've heard from the community is a high priority. Line number 5 is install water and sewer in mobile home communities in partnership with WSA. We are also pursuing a grant for that. The expansion of sewer and wastewater infrastructure is one of the approved and encouraged categories for the American Rescue Plan funding. HVAC replacements in county facilities, you 500,000, you approved that at your last meeting. Museum renovations were requested in the tourism category, and Selman Library renovations to create more space and access to broadband is also included in this category. Are there any questions on this category so far?
Is this the big list or
Yes.
the approved list?
This is the big list.
Oh, the recommended list, I meant to say, recommended list.
Yeah, this is the big list.
All right, keep going. Keep going.
And then the next category is public safety. And Commissioner, I thought it was important for the community to hear the big list so that everybody can understand the desires of the entire BOC. Next category is public safety, and this is premium pay for public safety for year 1 and 2, as previously explained. A sheriff station at Fairplay, reconfigure the courthouse to increase room for judicial activities and jury trials, and intervention strategies, which was requested by the sheriff. Any questions? Category 3, thank you, is employee stability, which is premium pay for regular class employees. The one-time payment that you authorized earlier in the year at $1,000 net to every employee, as well as vaccine incentive. That is 1.8 million that's already been expended. And then there was a request to design an employee clinic. Next category is, sorry, I didn't have the headers on this one. I think it's community. No, actually, this is public health, sorry. Community Service Board, $750 in year 1 and $500 in year 2. Coroner facility updates in year 2 of $500,000. And then funding for the Public Health Department for vaccine awareness and other potential COVID related activities. And then Fairborn Senior Center renovations grant match to include conceptual planning for budgetary purposes, $850. You will recall that we got a grant. And so this would enable us not just to match the grant, but do what's necessary to bring the Fairborn Senior Center up to good Class A operating condition. The next category is technology, $500,000 for broadcast equipment. You will know very well firsthand, we're having significant challenges right now. We are down, the channel 23 is down. We are unable to, we have been unsuccessful in getting it back on, the audio back online. Parts have been ordered, the equipment is obsolete, and we're very, very challenged in that area. So at this point, I think that's an emergency. And then information services and technology, 1.2 million each year, very much needed across the county, both from a cybersecurity perspective, technology perspective, and upgrades to enable us to operate more effectively and more efficiently. And then community stability, cleanup of detention ponds, both those that belong to us and a program to help those in the community who are plagued with this particular issue, as well as blight removal and cleanup of neglected areas, and rental and homeowner assistance is also in this category. The next category, economic stability, is small business assistance, and then a partnership with DCCT for signage and art installation in some of our major corridors and advertisement of our attractions here in the county. The next section is recreation, a senior center at Dog River for 4.25, Billard fencing, playground equipment, dog park, and water fountain at 300,000. That has now been funded out of SPLOST, current SPLOST. Punkintown Park, security cameras, broadband, sewer, restroom, gazebo, picnic seating, and signage for 300,000. Complete boundary waters for 250. Some of that has been funded out of current SPLOST that was approved by the Recreation Committee and the board. A dog park in District 3 at a location to be determined. Winston Park, upper field concession stands, and general outdoor recreation improvements for playgrounds and trails, some of which has been funded through current SPLOST. And last but not least, there was a request for funding for contingency in year 2 and program management advisory services for $280,000 to help manage the program. Any questions at this point for me?
No. We have any questions, board? I certainly, you don't have any information.
Get to the recommended
Yes,
list.
you want to get to what's recommended. I know the others it's 42 million, and we understand there's $10 worth of needs, and we only have
$1.
So
We have $1.
that seems to follow us everywhere where we go, Commissioner Robinson, that term. But there we go. Sharon, if you could go with the recommended list.
All right. Rick, can I share my screen on the recommended list? Can you take that down so I can? Okay. Let's see.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry. Share screen. It's not letting me share my screen. Let's see. 1 second, sorry. All right, I can't seem to share my screen. Can I talk you through it, or do you want me to get this to Rick real quick? So he
Get to
can.
Rick. We got to see this list.
Yeah, please get it to Rick or either Tiffany, if she could share.
I can try to share mine.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
In the meantime, I will get this sent to Rick. I thought I was going to be able to share mine. I apologize.
Lisa, can you make Tiffany co-host, please?
Yes, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Tiffany, you should be good to go now.
Okay,
No, that's not.
there you go.
All right, thank you, Tiffany. Just scroll to the top for me. Could you open that cell up? Uh-oh.
Hold on 1 second.
I apologize.
Okay, we understand. Well, while we're waiting on Tiffany, I just wanted to make a note that certainly the executive body have been very intentional of making sure that all the items that were requested were captured in your request. Certainly, you will see that your request has been addressed in this final document, certainly for your review and your consideration. Tiffany, are you at a point where you can show it?
It will, everything will come up on my screen, but that PowerPoint. And Rick, can you try to bring it up? I'm trying to get it up, but it's, I
Alright.
have,
I just sent it to you, Rick. Do you want to try to get that out?
There it is.
Okay, great. Thanks.
That's not the correct one.
Nope, that's the wrong one. I just sent it to your email, Rick. See if you can
I'll
get it.
try to adjusting.
There you go. Very good.
Sorry about that. Scroll to the top for me, would you? Rick, could you scroll to number 1 to the beginning for me?
Sure.
Recording stopped.
Why'd you stop the recording?
I didn't.
Uh-oh. That's weird. Says it's-
I'll look into that.
Recording in progress.
Okay, go the other way to the top so I can get started at number 1, please. This is the right document, but you need to scroll to the top so I can see number 1. Perfect, thank you. No, you were fine. Go the other way.
Tiffany, you're driving.
All the way up. Thank you.
There you go. Mhm.
Okay, I
Proceed,
apologize.
County Administrator.
Broadband and infrastructure section. Install broadband and sewer for Chapel Hill is unchanged. Electric, water, and sewer for future women's restoration is unchanged. Increase broadband countywide unchanged. Install water and sewer at mobile home parks unchanged. HVAC unchanged. The museum and the Selman Library were moved to be considered by future SPLOST or alternative grant sources. Pay increase, public safety pay increase for public safety and sheriff station at Fair Play was unchanged. Reconfigure courthouse to increase room for judicial activities was reduced to 1.7 million. And intervention strategies requested by the sheriff's office was unchanged. Next section, slide down a little bit for me. Employee stability, the already expended amount unchanged. The pay increase for regular class employees. This includes increasing all staff to a minimum of $15 per hour or 5%, whichever is greater, or if they're in the public safety category, a minimum of $15 per hour or 10%, whichever is greater, was unchanged. Designing an employee clinic that was reduced, was eliminated and to be considered with a future project. This community service board and next category, public health. Allocation to the community services board was reduced from 750 to 350. Coordinator upgrade, public health, Fairborn Senior Center was unchanged. Technology, broadcast equipment, and IT services was unchanged with the exception of a slight rounding error for me to be able to make it balanced to the penny. Community stability, the community detention pond cleanup, blight removal, and neglected areas was combined and reduced to $1 million each year, because I got that same request from multiple commissioners. And so we combine that into one. Rental and homeowner assistance was unchanged. Economic stability, business stability for small business, signage and art for partnership with DCTT was unchanged. Recreational, escape out of that, please. Escape out of that, please. Thank you. Recreational facility, senior center at Dog River was reduced to infrastructure, conceptual planning and design. This is actually not the most recent list. The most recent list shows that at 100,000, and it adds Winston Park, Upper Field, concession stand replacement renovation, at 750,000. Billard fencing, playground equipment and dog park was funded with current SPLOST. Punkintown Park amenities are unchanged. Complete the Boundary Waters Activity Center, funded with current SPLOST. Dog Park and Dog District 3 unchanged. And general outdoor recreation was funded by current and future SPLOST. Scroll down. And contingency was removed, and program management advisory services was reduced to a limited scope at $100,000.
Okay,
That,
thank you. Thank you so much. That concludes your presentation.
yes, it does. And if you want us to bring up the most current one, Tiffany, if you can stop screen sharing and bring up, Rick, if you can bring up the document that I just sent, it should have the corrections that were made last night in recreation.
Okay. One moment. The BOC request document?
The very last email that I sent to you was sent to you 5 minutes ago. It says updated.
Let me go back to the email.
11:02.
Got it. Okay. All right. What is it?
All right, if you can make that a little bigger. This one is a little easier to read, and it shows the corrections that were made in the recreation section pursuant to commissioner request. Madam Chair, I'm subject to questions.
Okay, thank you so much, County Administrator. Board of Commissioners, do you have any questions or comments regarding this recommended ARPA list?
Yes,
Vice Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
yes, well, we will we'll try not to babble, but yet at the same point, different languages, different views are all a manifestation of different perspectives. So I know each of my peers weighed in on this list in their properly duly elected sovereign position. And we're not taking this lightly in the sense that, you know, for the first time in 100 years, we get to address some issues that we would not have normally been able to do. And to that point, again, we really didn't have a work session as a group. We've been individually, obviously polled regarding this. So sometimes it warrants taking time to get into details, make sure things don't get out the back door, right? That we're in the light. Because it's important to be judged in the light than to be condemned in darkness. This is a lot of money. And think about it, we just now seeing this list, final list. It just came out 24 hours ago. We got 24 minutes to make a decision on 28 million. So while I appreciate staff's efforts and thoughts and so forth, but we're at the end of the day, we took an oath to the people, right? And so this is that check and balance. Madam Chair, I do appreciate the efforts. It was important to say, well, what is the totality of the list? And then obviously you got to be, just like you have to come with a balanced budget in 2 weeks, you have to come with a balanced list. There's no way around it. We're not the feds. We do not have we do have a debt ceiling. We do have a ceiling. We can't print money. So I had to put that context out there because it's where we are right now and it's real. So, all right, let's move on. All right. I do appreciate the effort. I mean, when you guys, for District 2's sake, I was properly polled, and again, the need is so great. You know, I thought what was important, obviously, public safety was important. We'll hold everybody to it, where put their voice where their mouth was earlier this year and from last year. Show it. Let's get at it. You know, the advocacy for public safety, paying our employees, right? We're gonna keep this conversation going. While I appreciate the 10%, not quite there, but you buy 2 years. Thank you, got it. The living wage, got it, thank you. Getting there, right? But this is something, you know, County Administrator, we appreciate you coming in, picking up the baton on something that we know that it's been here and it goes deep. And I appreciate your thoughtfulness and buying time and how we, obviously we've got legislation on the table that says, okay, let's get at it. All right, so this is the moment of truth. So thank you for that. I do get that. Moving on, you want to call it the mobile home community is something that we know that had been neglected as well. That obviously they vote. You know, we you know, society sometimes they do what they do. They close their eyes to different conditions and classes of citizenry, and I mean, it is what it is. But it's like, okay, guys, they vote. They pay some taxes, right? They may not be an equal tax, but they do have an equitable contribution. And so I'm glad to see that it sounds like you are working with County Administrator with WSA, our friend Gil Shearhouse, and you guys are working on perhaps some type of partnership to sort of address that need. And I think all of our, to your point, my other peers have thoughts regarding that similarly. So that number sounds good. We're making a good faith effort. $1 million on that. Thank you. All right. Yes, everything else I'm pretty much at peace with. One thing I wanted to make sure we addressed, I heard it was up and down. 28 million is about the size of what the SPOS was for the city. Right. And so what's important to me is program oversight. Right. I want to know who's going to oversee this, who's going to have the same, who's going to be responsible for reporting on this, on how y'all are spending. Right. So and remember, this is federal money.
Mm-hmm.
This is federal money. This is not you kind of issue. This is more of a broader. You're okay. This is federal money. And so who's going to ensure that we have both reporting and communication on the status of this? So while we're putting it back into the general fund, in essence, we're putting this big bucket, we can replace what was missing. Like, no, we can't. We're just not dropping 28 discretionary just for no oversight. It just gets absorbed. I'm looking for the same consistency. So I'm trusting that program management. It's the same consistency that the public has got to know over the past 4 to 5 years. I think that's important. Accountability is key regarding that. And so I'm just making those statements. And then my last thing is I go through this list of all the things. And again, I do want to acknowledge the resolution that you guys have adopted. Commissioner Carthen obviously authored that structure, that approach. And now we're beginning to get what I call that single view. Now we're getting continuity. Now we're maturing, like now we're cooking. That made it a little bit easier to process what, at least from my perspective, what I was looking at. Right, like, no, okay, now we're cooking. And so I appreciate the effort. Sounds like you guys are finally listening and learning and applying things that we need to make the decisions, because we only come in here, as you say, every 2 weeks, that we're part-time. And again, we've got a process right here, right now in the moment. You don't get a second chance. We got to do it right now. And so some of our thoughts are what they are, and we have to represent our respective citizenry. With that being said, Madam Chair, I think at least that first round, I just want to put those thoughts out there, and that what I saw initially. But all I can say is that you did the best you could with what you got. We weren't entitled to any of this. There's no, like, I was supposed to get this and that. Like, no, you weren't. This is once in 100 years. And it's only because the Congress decided to pass what they passed. So we have to put things in context that nothing is due in any district for any reason. other than this. So it has to be a humbleness and appreciation for what you got versus entitlement. And we did the best we can, I think, and making sure that we apply it accordingly with the right spirit. So that being said, Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Vice Chairman Robinson. Any other remarks, board, before I call the question?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Commissioner Guider, you have the floor.
Yes, and County Manager Subadan, on the pay scale for the first responders, I guess, public safety, you're giving them 10% first year and then 5% the next year. But then we're giving everybody else possibly 5%. It'll be 10% after 2 years. So seems like in 2 years, we're going to be back in the same position we are now. The public safety are underpaid. Right now, the pay scale has like a $20 an hour disparity in it for newcomers that were just put on full-time, and then people that have been there for years. So how does this address that? How does it correct it? Because when those people get a 10% increase, it's going to be a lot more than the ones that's making $20 less an hour when they get their 10%. So aren't we going to be right back in the same place in a couple of years with our public safety?
I would say that's not, I would say no. There are some compression adjustments that the sheriff is making because of decisions made last year and the year before. And so I'm working with the sheriff on that separately out of his current year budget. Because
the fire department. What about the fire department?
So the fire department is going to be in a pretty good position because we did some analysis and we determined there were 69 full-time employees with the fire department that made less than $15 an hour, even though they work 2912 a year, which is 2,912 hours a year. They were still under that $15. And so they will see a significant increase for those 69 because they're going to go from $13 or $13.50 to $15 an hour. Now their counterparts up the chain will get a 10% increase. And so while I do acknowledge that the distance between the lower ranked and the more senior ranked will be a smaller increment, those further up the food chain are getting a 10% pay increase. And so I like to say you can have anything, but you can't have everything. I think this is the best we can do with the funding that we have available. The other thing I need to say on the record is this is a bridge. This gets us to help our current situation, which is we are way below market. We have not kept up. Our peers are outpacing us, but this is a bridge to help us to get what we need, even though, you know, our revenue, our regular revenue cannot support it. So what we will have to do in the next 2 years is be very intentional to make sure that in year 3, we have positioned ourselves to be able to take this additional on. Normally, you would not fund a recurring expense with a one-time, but quite honestly, we do not have sufficient revenue coming in. And so one of the things I'm looking forward to is a stronger revenue in next year, greater efficiency to continue to reduce our expense on things that technology will help us with. But we have to be prepared to position ourselves for 3 years from now when this expense is going to have to be borne out of the county revenue streams.
Well, I was just aware that the recruiting for the fire department is, we're not comparable to surrounding counties as far as starting pay. So they make what, 38,000 a year, and then you've got people making, that's not putting their life on the line, making 56,000 a year. So I'm just saying the disparity is there. And I think this is going to widen that disparity. If they're just brought up to $16 an hour or $15 an hour.
$15 an hour will get them to 53. So sorry, we'll get them to 43,680 a year.
But then the employees making, like, just say 56,000, they're going to get a 5% on top of their pay. So, and they just came on board. So it just seems like we're not addressing a big issue here. And this is not just with the fire department, but also within the courthouse. So it may be a patch, it may be a bridge, whatever you want to call it, but I don't think it's going to address it, because by the end of 2 years, the people in the courthouse is going to be making, they're going to wipe out the difference of the 10% and that the fire department or the public safety is getting this year, or whenever it starts. In 2 years, they're going to be right back up there at the same level, I guess. And so really the fire department and the sheriff's department, except for the ones that's being addressed in the budget, they're going to be just making 5% more than what they were from the courthouse staff. So I just, public safety is a big issue with me. It always has been. And we've got to do something for the entry level in order to recruit and keep the recruits. And I don't know that this addresses it, but maybe we can address this in future budgets. But I think it's just going to widen the gap on some categories. But I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Garber. Any other remarks before I call the question? Okay.
Madam Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Mitchell.
Okay, yeah, I'll just be brief. First of all, Madam Superintendent, great job. I think this is, a great place to start and take the baby steps in getting there. However, just so we can make sure the public understands, I think we've had this conversation, I'm doing it for more of the public understanding, is that you mentioned this whole right now using the sheriff and all the public safety and all these guys at 10% now, 5% later, and we got to take ownership of this down the road. Can you kind of reiterate that so we can make sure we understand that this is going to be our baby in 2 years, and it's going to be compounded from the 10%, which gets to 5% later on top of the 10%, and then you're going to be our baby at that point in time, correct?
That is correct.
If you would just kind of relive that and rehash that once more, so we can understand that. I hope we're, meaning this, my colleagues are future thinking about what this looks like, 2 years from now, as opposed to right now. Because I'll say this much, and then I'll let you kind of make your statement known. This financial / personnel payroll rabbit hole, it only gets deeper, guys. If we're willing to take ownership of this and willing to pay for it, because we will in 2 years, then that would be possibly a millage rate increase, or possibly what? Because there's no other way around it. So we're anticipating with new growth and assessed values and everything else, it will pay for itself. Am I correct in your thought? Or you see the potential of other income sources that'll be coming down the pipeline from commercial and residential, I guess?
Yeah, all of the above.
Okay,
I think.
thank you.
As you look at our current year budget, we're very healthy. We're trending to end the year with a surplus that goes into fund balance. We have some funds, quite honestly, small funds that are in the negative. We expect those to be in the positive. 2 more years looking like this with increased growth, increasing commercial, tightening our belt, being more efficient. I think they all put us in a position that in 3 years, you'll be capable of funding this out of current revenue, regular revenue. The challenge that you have is the last time employees got a raise, across the board raise, I think was in 2019. And so I don't know that you're in a position to wait 2 more years for revenue to grow in order to give employees raises. And our increase in the millage in the digest was only 2.5 million. And you were in, the constitutional officer retreat was recorded. You heard the requests from every constitutional officer and elected official, and a consistent theme was employees needed a raise, and they're losing good employees because they cannot sustain them with the salaries. Even those that have gone out of their way to improve their work environment and make it somewhere where people really want to work, at some point, that runs out when employees are undercompensated and are under market. The market is driving a much higher rate. You look at fast food places are saying, we're going to start at $15 an hour. Now, to counter that, we offer a very, very robust health insurance plan, and this board has taken steps to make sure that you didn't have to increase health insurance premiums to employees this year. Again, we offer a very robust other benefits to employees that we know account for an additional 40% on top of base salary. So, I hope that answers your question. We are going to have to be disciplined in the next 2 years. So as increased revenue comes in, we recognize that we have an obligation going into the future.
You did a great job. Don't get it. I think you did a great job of explaining it more just for the general public and to my colleagues. And that's why I want to kind of make sure that we clearly understand that, when we cross that threshold of 2 years, that we definitely need to be thinking along that line of taking ownership of this, because at that time it's ours. That increase is ours. And is this enough? No, it's probably not. But just keep in mind, this is what we got to work with. I mean, this pie in the sky ideal thought, it exists in our head, but the reality check is this is what we have to work with. And I think you've done a great job at trying to make the overall good happy at where we are. And no, everybody is not going to be happy in the end, because they was anticipating more than what we got to offer. As Vice Chairman Robinson talked about, this nickel that we got, and that's all we got to work with. And that's what we have to work with in trying to split this nickel up in God knows how many ways. And I think you've done took the right approach in trying to get us there. I see some things that I would probably have made a few adjustments that you and I have spoken about, but I'm not even going to speak to that. I just think this is a great start, a great direction, and a great way to look into the future of 2 years from now, at least, as to what we could be if we follow this and actually kind of curb our spending, get better control of our expenses. And I think we'll do fine. So I'll leave it there. I think you've done an excellent job, you and your team, to kind of at least give us something to chew on and think about. And I think all of my colleagues have had a chance to at least have a conversation with you, which I think that was great in getting to this point. But will you have enough, or do you have enough to complete the task at hand? Absolutely not. But there is a way. But I don't think any of us want to talk about the other way of trying to get there. I'll yield there. Thank you, Madam Superintendent, and thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Commissioner.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Mitchell. Certainly, I know when you say the other way that we don't want to talk about it. And I agree with you as well, Commissioner Mitchell. Certainly, as we continue to compete, we definitely will be looking at some revenue enhancement opportunities, and those opportunities are underway. I've spoken with the tax commissioner. We've already started with our phase one plan of trying to see what we can do to quantify some numbers so we can close the gap on what our county administrator is indicating is a bridge. And I love it. It's a temporary bridge. So we want to make sure that our employees are well aware of that. And I know this board, we fully appreciate all the things that our staff has done to endure this ongoing pandemic. And we are so grateful and so appreciative to you. And we are doing, as Commissioner Mitchell said, what the best we have with what we have available to us. And we will exhaust all measures to make sure that our staff is made whole and that we will continue to compete. Board of Commissioners, if there's nothing else, I'll call the
Madam
question.
Chair.
Yeah.
Madam
She
Chair.
had her-
Oh, I had three. Okay, I heard three voices. Is it
I was
Commissioner?
after Commissioner Mitchell, but you can go ahead
Okay.
with them.
Commissioner, was that Carthen?
Yes,
Okay, I heard a female's voice, but I just couldn't. Commissioner Carthen, you have the floor.
thank you. So my question to the staff or to Madam Superintendent is, did you look at what the compounded total after 2 years will be? What will that be on the budget? What would that bottom number be in terms of the employee stability?
Yes, ma'am. If you, if the numbers that are on the screen, so the second column is the compounded amount. So when you add those four numbers together, that is the impact. So it's not inconsequential. So on public safety, it's 3.47 in year one, 1.9 in year two. So that's almost 5.3 million. And then on regular staff, it's 1.6 and then 1.7. So that's about 3.4 million. So it's a significant impact.
And the total impact would be?
now you're testing about 8 million.
About 8 million to our bottom line, 8.5 million to our bottom line.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
that's not including bringing on new employees who will also start at least $15 minimum.
It actually is, because we funded
Oh, okay.
everything. Yeah, we funded everything. So whether it was a filled or vacant position, it was funded at the new level.
It
And-
was. Okay, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
And we
Mhm.
didn't take any attrition. So for example, if there's 10% vacancy rate in a department, we didn't deduct for that.
Mhm.
Which is not, realistically, you're never gonna have every position filled for 12 months. So there's a little bit of wiggle room in here.
But you gave us true numbers
Yes,
so
ma'am.
that without the wiggle room, we would know these are the hard numbers. These
That's
are the
right.
actual numbers that if every position was
Yep.
filled at this amount,
That's
on
correct.
top of the increase, this is what this board would be looking at. So that would be 8 million. So I know my colleagues, at least two of my colleagues, and a third I'm hearing now who doesn't want to even talk about a millage rate increase. And I get it. Nobody wants to
You
talk
heard.
about a millage rate increase. So Dr. Jones, Commissioner Guider and Commissioner Mitchell are not for millage rate increase. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm looking at my tax bill as we speak. I'm not in favor of a millage rate increase either. However, I do know that I don't want to not have safety. Like I don't want to live in a county. This is personally me. I don't want to live in a county where we don't have enough sheriff cars on the road, where we don't have enough sheriff deputies on the ground. And so in order to do that, we're going to have to compete with our neighbors, which may mean a millage rate increase, which may mean, and for us, our values are pretty low in this county, although a lot of people would say, no, they're not. Yes, they are, because a mill for us is only $5.5 million. When you look across the water at Cherokee or Fulton County, well, a mill for them is $13 and $15 million respectively.
Mhm.
So our mill does not equate to what one meal for them would be. Ours is only $5.5 million. And I don't say that lightly, but it is just $5.5 million. So if we're about to add $8 million to the General Digest budget, then we're going to have to account for that. So it is hopeful that, what the tax assessor's office is doing and bringing on new staff, new equipment, new technology, the way that they will assess the values of our commercial properties will help us to get there, and that we won't need a millage rate increase. And that would be great. But I just want this entire board to know you got to do the right thing. Public safety is the number one thing for every single one of us on this board and for every constituent that we represent. So in the least amount, at the very least, we would have to consider making sure that we always meet that requirement of public safety, always. So that's my comment regarding public safety and making sure that at least people are making a minimum wage of $15 per hour. My second comment is regarding the community stability. So I see what you have on the screen is the community detention pond cleanup, the blight removal, and the cleanup of the neglected properties and areas. And you're combining those. I would ask that you amend that down to the community detention and pond cleanup to 500,000, and then put 250,000 into blight removal and 250,000 into the cleanup of neglected properties and areas. Each district has, areas that we know needs to be cleaned up. And so that needs to go into each of the district buckets. That is something so that way, when I'm calling Heath and I'm asking him, can you go and repave Oak Place subdivision, or can you go and do XYZ in this area, because this is a blighted area that we've had no movement on, not even getting the people who own it into court, then they would know, well, this comes from District 3's line item for those areas. To put it all in one bucket, and then somebody else determines what areas we should go, should get the money or not, to me, it's just not feasible. It should be the district commissioner, because we are the ones responsible for those constituents that we represent in our districts. So that would be my request on that, and my reasoning behind my request.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Carthen. And we can make that happen. Sharon, that is still balanced. The 500, she just said 250.
Exactly. Yeah, it still balances.
Mhm.
Yes.
And that would be for both years, correct?
That would be for both years. Yes,
Yeah.
if that's how you have it in the budget, one for 2021, 2022, and 2023, that's fine. Just split those and put those into our respective districts.
Will do.
Okay. And I believe, my other question was regarding the recreational facilities. So it says Winston Park Upper Field concession stand at $750,000. However, in our last SPLOS update with the funds, it seems as though Director Dukes was stating that there needed to be a plan before we spend money in that area so that we can do it right, as opposed to piecemealing it. Did we talk about that?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And what was the outcome? Is that 750 staying for Upper Field concession stand, or is it being put to the side until the plan comes back from Director Dukes and the Parks and Rec team?
Well, the plan was funded in the parks reconfiguration. And so I like to have a plan before we move into construction. So that would be my recommendation, that we get that plan and bring it to the Parks and Rec committee. But this funding would stay in this line item and then could be applied to build out some part of that plan.
If I could weigh in, Commissioner Carthen, to answer your question. On this particular concession stand, the second floor of the concession stand is actually, the floor planks are weak, and it's a public health risk right now. We've had our public health department look at it, and it is just a matter of time that someone's going to step on the wrong plank, and that they're going to fall through to the first floor from the second floor. So
I get it, Madam Chair. I get you. Thank you for weighing in. My whole question was in regards to how we're doing it. If we're taking a holistic approach. And so again, the piecemealing of these things is what really causes us to not be able to curb some of our spending, because we got to be looking at things long range, right? The whole approach. So I'm just, I'm one voice, but I do want to make sure that as we're getting ready to vote on this, we're looking at things in totality, right? Because one vote or one choice is going to impact something else. And if it's going to impact it, I would rather impact it in a positive way, as opposed to us having to come back, undo, or put unnecessary dollars into something where we could have had a total plan to do it outright. So, but that's my comment. With that, Madam Chair, I yield. And thank you, Madam Superintendent and team. This is good.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Madam
much,
Chair.
Commissioner Carthen. Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, just rebuttal. I'll be very quick. Couple points, but thanks to my peers, you guys all very good sound input and concern. And as a point of order, let me make sure I'm clear. This list is what? Are we committing in an absolute term? Are we saying things can change?
Sorry, let me.
Yeah, let me just, but my point being is that, for example, I'm going to use the example that Commissioner Carthen came up regarding mobile homes or blight. I like the word blight. Blight. And so with blight, there's two other people that agree with that. Now I'm going to go back to parliamentary rules, since we've all had an object lesson. Right now in this moment, you can get a concession and say, are we in consensus that that's in the way you say it? And in the absolute of silence, it stands. Likewise, if there's three people who disagree that the concession park or whatever the case should not be in, you say it now. Madam Chair polls, say, hey guys, are we in consensus? You do it right here in a moment. You clean the list up, else it stands. Right? You challenge it on the moment. But let that go. It's not my issue. I'm just giving y'all some object lesson. I'm moving on. All right, I want to come back to this this pay. We're dancing, but it's okay. County Administrator, excellent job. Excellent job. Right? You moved, you came in, you caused it. We're working through a bigger picture. You don't have the historical baggage. Nice move. It was not your job to solve something that the board should have been doing all along. We don't, and this is why I've said you need multiple lists in front of us, but you're getting closer. You're doing good. You got, again, yeah, you got to look at this. I told y'all, it's going to take you 10 years to make this up. You can't make up 10 years of neglect in one move. You can't get there. The county administrator has put forth, I'm like, oh, good. Oh, she bought us time. Do not be delusional about what you're looking at. That's why I'm slow rolling this legislation to the sheriff, to public safety. It's going to take a minute, a minimum of 5 years. You can't get there. Right? We're going to show you the analysis in a couple of weeks on November 5th. That's when it all comes out. You don't have to oh, I'm thinking this, I'm warning my peers. Ain't nothing to warn. It's math. 1 mil, it's all, it is the answer, period. 1 mil, where are you going? It's 1 mil, where are you going? Over 10 years. You can't make this up like that with the growth of everything else. You can't get there. I'm not concerned about the Joneses and what other counties doing. I'm talking about the value of my citizens today. I don't need nobody else to justify the decisions that we have to make. Keep it to make me feel good about myself. What are these guys worth? Do you care? Do you care? Why do you need your justification and your decision based on some other county? These are your citizens. Well, they feed theirs, so I guess I'll feed mine. What are you doing? What are you saying? But okay, I get it. I just had to make that point. No, when I hear comments like, well, so my peers understand, no, I'm very clear. I'm very clear. So Sheriff, I mean, I know people whistle in your ear and they doing whatever. And they like, no, the math is going to come out and we're going to see what everybody made of. And the impact, like you can't get there, guys. I appreciate them guys like, no, it's going to take time. But nor am I obligated to try to make up the decisions of the past. Can't worry about it. Y'all didn't deal with it. Doesn't matter. But going forward, to be able to keep this thing healthy, you can't. 1 mil is the answer. How you spread that, what percentage? I mean, y'all pick a number, but it's a math problem. It's a formula. And it's somewhere between 5 to 10 years to get to where y'all and be healthy in that place. That's reality. You'll see the numbers. So, Madam Chair, I just want to make that comment. I'm going to let it go. Go ahead and do what you got to do as far as calling, but well done. You guys, you did good. This was a good list. It's well thoughtful. I mean, everybody weighed in from their different perspectives. That's why I really don't have no pushback on anything that somebody weighed in on. Yeah, as Commissioner said, yeah, I would have did this way or that way. I get it, but well done, because this is once in 100 years that we're at this place. So we can't you did the best you could with what we had. Way to work through the list, work it down. And so, Madam Chair, you guys did a good job. And all staff members that jumped on board in this, not just county administrator. I know people that are behind you that weighed in on this. So I want to thank them as well. Madam Chair, I yield. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm called. Thank you so much. Commissioner Guider.
Yes, could I just ask County Manager Subadan one more question about the rental and homeowners assistance, whatever. I went to speak to the retired educators the other day, and one of them was asking me, how do the people that own the property, he's a small businessman, and how do they get their funds, because they have not been paid for several months, over a year. So who will be administering that part? And will the money for the back rent be sent to the people that own the property, or to the people that are renting that may not pay it over to the owner?
My understanding, and I got this confirmed, is, and I believe we sent you a report, anytime rental assistance or homeowner assistance is granted, it's paid to the landlord or to the bank or to the property management company, whoever collects the rent. So in no instance does somebody get handed a check for rental assistance. The nonprofits that work with us on this are very versed. They have good procedures, good record keeping. They're able to provide us with their backup documentation to demonstrate that the funding goes to the property owner, meaning the rental property owner.
And if this passes, will this go into play immediately? Can they start putting in the application for the back rent?
Well, what I'd like to do is, once this passes, we'll put things in motion. So to answer Commissioner Robinson's question, is this absolute? These are all estimates. As we get firm figures on technology, for example, it may come in less. If it comes in more, then we'll have to find the money somewhere else. Agreements have to be reached. So if we're using the same nonprofit, we'll have to bring that back to you for your approval. This gives us the roadmap. And once we have the roadmap, then we can start the journey. We got this money in July and we've done our work, and now we want to be able to get on the road.
Okay, and if any item on here, if we are lucky enough to get a separate grant to fund it, will we set up a contingency fund in which it will go into, and then we can later maybe add or add to this list of projects?
Well, the funding already is separate from all of the funding, and so we are going to be aggressively pursuing grants. So if we are fortunate enough to get grants, we certainly would come back to you and say, this project is fully funded. Would you like to reallocate to a different project?
Okay, thank you. I yield back, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Guider. All right, we're going to move on. Board, I'm going to call question. Board of Commissioners
Chair.
do.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay, Commissioner
For the
Mitchell.
board. Okay, so Madam Superdan, and to this board, just so we make sure we clear though, because I think there's a couple of, I think I heard Commissioner Carthen clearly making a statement about at least putting the bookmark on that item at Parks and Recs, because there is a conceptual plan that's being done, or that's going to be done, Madam Superdan. So
Mhm.
I think it only makes sense
Mhm.
to get it right and not piecemeal.
Mhm.
I think we need to go back and make sure that staff take a look at this floor, that we're saying that it's a safety issue and it needs to be address it.
Can
But I
I,
don't,
sorry.
no, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead and finish.
Yeah, so
thought
but
you were done.
if that needs to be addressed, then let's address it. But I don't think we need to get ahead of ourselves. So let's put a bookmark there, bring it before the Parks and Rec Committee, because we've already started a plan and put a plan in process, as you know. I don't want to get ahead of that. And as Commissioner Carthen stated, we spend the money and then we got to come back and redo it and tear it back out and do something totally different. I'm just using that as a hypothetical. So can we do that part of this layout here though?
So just to, especially for the public, I do want you to be aware, any safety related issues are being addressed immediately.
Correct.
And so that would not be a reason to skip a process. Anything that's safety related is being addressed as just a matter of day-to-day business.
Right.
And when we get to the Park and Rec Committee, we will, what we'll have to do is get quotes on doing those plans. It is a professional service, so it will have to come back to the full board to be approved through the Parks and Rec Committee. And then, and once that's done and you have something, then I would imagine that this concession stand would be part of a new conceptual plan. And so this funding would be parked for that, but we wouldn't use this funding to make day-to-day safety repairs.
Thank you. And well stated. And that's what I want to make sure we get clear, is that these funds, if there's a safety issue, that will be addressed immediately.
Correct.
Hands down. But we can't spend the funds, at least I don't think we should spend the funds just because the funds are there. It's still got to make sense for the holistic side of what we're doing. Okay, so just want to make sure we got a clear understanding about that particular line item to make sure that we're clear as to where we are with that. So, and I'll yield at that point.
Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Madam Chair, this is
Yes.
Commissioner Carthen.
Mhm.
I want to make a motion that we table this particular item until our next meeting so that some of the concerns that we're addressing now can be realigned with this. Because when I vote, I actually do want to see all of my colleagues' comments included on it so that we're clear on what we voted on. Because right now there's a couple of line items and then a couple of questions about certain areas within the recreational facilities, within the community stability. And so with that, I would rather us have a clean ARPA list that we're voting on as opposed to what we are assuming because we're making comments. Executive session has taught us nothing. It has taught us to be specific about what you're amending and what you're voting on. So I would ask that we would table this until our meeting, is it next week? And bring this as an agenda item. That way everything is cleared up and we can vote.
Commissioner, when you said table, you're saying those particular items that we discussed, we have
Nope.
several.
Nope, table this particular item that's on the agenda until our next voting session, allowing staff to clean it up as we've stated today.
Correct. We can do that. However, some of these items that we discussed, I believe, the 250 to divided between the community, between the districts that you mentioned. That technology is available. We can do that real time today. I'm not sure how time sensitive you all want to get started, so we can wait another 2 weeks if you all want us to wait before we start moving on some of these topics. If you want the executive side to wait, we can do that. So if the board is in concurrence, we can table and move on. So
Madam
what are your
Chair,
thoughts?
it's a point of order. If she wants to make a motion, see if we table, see if it passes. If not, go back up to the prior original motion and move forward.
We got you. We got you. All right. For the commissioners, you heard the motion. Do we have a second?
No. What are we voting on though?
Okay, Commissioner Carthen, you're going to make your motion again to table.
You just said it. That's the motion on the floor.
Do we have a second? Board. Okay. Do we have a second? Okay, we don't have a second. The motion fails for lack of a second, so we're going to move on. All right. Board of Commissioners, I'm going to call a motion. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the ARPA funding project list that was made available to us with the amendments? Do we have a motion?
Madam Chair, were you not already in a motion in a second? We were just discussing. What were you doing?
I have never had, no one ever called a motion. That's what I say. I hadn't called it yet.
Okay.
We were still talking. So let me call the motion again. This is my first motion that I'm making. Approval of the ARPA funding project list. Board of Commissioners, do we have a motion to approve the ARPA funding list as presented by the county administration, as the county administrator has presented with the amendments?
So moved.
Okay, we have a
What
motion.
amendment? Wait a minute. You said with amendment. I don't know what.
Yeah, she
amendment.
amended the community stability. She'll be changing that to 250, 254 for the districts. So under community stability, that has been amended.
But the funding is still the 350? No, I don't know. I don't know what the amendment was.
County administration. Okay, let me just try it again. We have two amendments forward. There was one that Commissioner Carthen mentioned on community stability. She said if we could take where you have the 1 million at the top where the community detention pond, she wanted 500,000 removed from that. And she said put 250 under blight removal and 250,000 for cleanup of neglected properties and areas. And so that would make it balanced. Nothing would change. Everything would be the same.
You just adding those two line items is what
Yes,
you're.
ma'am. Okay.
Okay, so moved.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair.
Okay.
In the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. You go ahead and finish your motion in a second. Then I'll comment.
Okay. Second. Okay. Any discussion?
Yes. I think Terenia had a couple other conditions and or comments to this motion, not this motion, but the Madam Superintendent, the other, for instance, the parks and rec scenario, that was also a part of this, not just the 250. As part of pausing on that particular line item to actually do the conceptual plan, and then we'll come back and revisit that particular number in that layout. But we're going to fix the safety issue that was in the parks that was mentioned earlier, correct?
That is correct. And that has been obviously captured in the minutes as well.
Got it. And all the other things that were captured, was there anything else? Because it seemed like there were some other things that were there that was mentioned throughout this whole conversation. Were there any others, Madam Superintendent, that you could, that we've been, because this conversation has been going kind of long, but.
Yeah, we've been taking notes. We did not capture any specific changes. There were general comments, but we are clear and we can, put an asterisk beside the concession stand that says conceptual planning must be completed. And of course, everything comes back to you. Everything, before
Understood.
it's
Understood.
enacted.
I just want to make sure my colleagues' comments were definitely captured, though. That's
Yes.
all.
Yes, so when we update this, this table, it would reflect that note and it would reflect the changes in community stability to the 250 per year in those two line items with a note that says the district cleanup.
So and speaking of that, so that 250 per year broken out into 4 districts, correct?
Mhm.
Correct, Madam Superintendent?
Correct. That's
Okay.
that's my understanding of
Okay.
the.
And that will be reflected in your notes that you
In this-
captured.
And it would be reflected in this sheet. We would update
Correct.
this sheet.
I got you. I got you. And I'm only saying this so we can make sure that we're all saying the same thing, because I get Commissioner Carthen's, understanding of trying to wait so we can make sure we see it all before we get to that point of voting and then come back to see it that it is not what we said. So that's why I want to make sure we say it now, that when you'll capture this and put it on paper. And that way the general public and all of us are on the same page. That's all. Okay.
Yes, sir, I get it.
Okay. All right. I yield.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other discussion, board? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Please prepare to cast your votes.
I think you probably got to do a voice voting, because I think there's been some changes, some additions made. So I don't think it's the same.
Document, I got you. District 1?
Yes.
Okay, yes. You said yes. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
No.
District 4?
Yes,
Chairman, yes, we have a 4-1 vote and the motion carries. Okay, we're going to move on Board of Commissioners to tab number 3. We have authorization to approve a SPOS reforecast list at an estimated cost of $4,666,313 for the fire and EMS projects to be funded through the projected increased revenue from the 2016 SPOS funds as per attached list. We have a Board of Commissioners before. Certainly, I ask you to vote on this item. I wanted our Chief Jolivet to please present to you why, the purpose and why we're here this morning to discuss this item. Chief Jolivet, are you on the line? There you are. You have the floor. And Vice Chairman, if you could take the meeting over just briefly for me, I have to step away. Just
Right,
one
thank you.
second.
No problem.
Mhm.
Chief,
Yes, sir.
you have the floor. The floor has been yielded from my peers. Chief, go right ahead.
Thank you, Vice Chair. I'd like to say thank you to Vice Chairman Robinson, and also the Honorable Board of Commissioners, and to our citizens. I'll be using a spreadsheet that Mr. Rick Martin has been sent for the reforecast. Mr. Rick, can you pull that up for me, sir? It's a spreadsheet for the
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Working on that right now, sir.
reforecast. And as that spreadsheet come up, we're going to be addressing 8 items, requesting additional funding for 8 items. Okay. All right, we'll start with item 1, which is the 2021 2 fire engines and 2022 1 fire engine. We'll look there to the right under the additional requested items. Rick, can you reduce the size down just a little bit, sir?
Yes, sir.
We'll be looking to our far right. We have additional increase per engine. Total is 135,000. And what that does is our budget was 550,000 per engine. Due to inflation and cost and everything, that went up to 15 additional $1,000. So that 15 times 3 gave us a 45,000, and then for the equipment for each engine was at 30,000. So that 30 times 3 is 90 at the 45, and we're at 135. Ask for additional amount for our requested increase. Just to add to this, the discussion this morning is very good. What this does for us is it reduces our expenses on our repairs. We have a lot of expenses to repair our first line vehicles as well as our fleet vehicles, reserve vehicles. And these additional engines will go a long way with reducing our expenses for that. That's the first line. The first item I want to discuss. The second one is the Station 4 renovations. If you look to the middle there, we have some money in 2002 SPLOST. The total for that renovation is $800,000 estimate. that renovation for the money's in 2002 splash is right at 676, 646. And the additional amount that we're requesting is $123,354. And that just add to that money we have in the SPOS funding. And that's for Station 4 renovations. We had our staff went out, looked at the station, and it's time to do something with the station, not only for safety, but also for our responders and the public. That's number 2 item. Going down to the third item is the Station 9. As you all know, the Station 9 went out for request for qualifications, and we did have an architecture firm that won that particular award, and they'll be getting to the design phase right now in the survey. So thank you to the commissioners for thinking ahead. Whereas the pricing that we looked at that station was way back 2015, 2016. With everything going up, we're asking for some additional funding to complete that building, which is $2,475,859. That's just getting ahead of what might come out of the survey and the things that might we'll deal with costs that's gone up with materials and what have you. So we're asking additional requests for that amount. Any questions thus far as I go down the list?
Chief, keep going, and then we'll take it at the end of that. Just
Thank you, Vice Chairman. Okay, the other item is Station 9, ladder truck, engine, and ambulance, and we're asking an additional $1,175,000. And if you look back up at the list on the Fire Station 9 equipment, the second item, we have $1 million there for equipment. That would go along with the additional requested line item for $1,175,000 to take care of the trucks and basic furnishing for that station. With the next item would be the $40,000 for a staff vehicle. What we're looking at is a safety officer that would go around the city and go to fires and go to emergency calls and act as our safety as a safety officer. We'll need a vehicle for that position that we're anticipating taking care of. And safety is a big concern for us. So we're getting ahead of the ball on that. The next item is replacement for the damaged ladder truck. As you all know, we was fortunate enough to get a grant for $1,095,000, and the 227.099 we're asking will be to serve as a match for that particular item. The next item is a tow vehicle. Tow vehicle we use for moving our equipment around the city to do different things. We have a Bobcat that we use for arson and different things. We have mowers that we take around, other vehicles we pull. So when that price came out in 2015, things have gone up since then, but that $45,000 will really help us in terms of getting a vehicle for that. Air and light truck, our air and light truck is used light up for scene. We're asking for $400,000 to replace that vehicle. It's very good out on the interstate as well as throughout in the city. We have areas that are that need light and also air bottles, things of that nature. The total price of requested items were $4,621,312, a bit lower than what I had in the agenda item for $4,666.313. So that will take our requested item added on to our reforecast budget. It will raise our number up to $36,621,312. And all these things are necessary to go in line with our strategic plan to make our citizens and make our community better. And I ask that the board take it into consideration for the reforecast. And we're available for questions. I know I have Mr. Good and also County Administrator and Mr. Gable should be on the line to help us out.
Yes, Chief, I'm here.
All right. Chief, are you finished?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chief. Madam Chair, are you back? If not, the floor is still yielded. All right, so as a point of clarity before I open the floor, so this is now the Committee for Parks and Rec and the Committee for Transportation in our last official voting meeting acknowledged and adopted the reforecast to the end of the current 2016 SPLOST. This is now the third component of that referendum citizen voted listing. And so this is fire and EMS. So this has come through the committee. Is that accurate, Chief? And it's been duly vetted. And now we're just now bringing it up to speed and blessing it like the rest of the other two committees. Is that accurate?
Yes, sir. We have a consensus throughout our committee. We also have a special call at 1:30 today to make sure that everything is tied together. But we've been through the committee with it piecemealing, and so today we're bringing it as a committee, but also we'll be readdressing what is said today at our special call meeting at 1:30.
No, it's okay. Just clarify. So, it could have came through the committee and then you went to the board, or like with my transportation, we did a polling subcommittee first, went to the board, and then we went to the committee to adopt. It's okay. Sounds like it's the latter. I get what you're doing. And it's okay for speed and timing. So I'm going to yield with that to the full Board of Commissioners. Any questions?
Yes.
Madam Guider, you've been recognized. You have the floor.
Okay, Chief Jolie Vat, since we can't see the whole header on the spreadsheet and everything, so you're asking for an additional, whoa, wait a minute, you're going too far. I was going to read something. Go down. You're asking for an additional 2,437,000.
It's an additional 4,621,312.
Okay, where do I see that on this spreadsheet?
It should be in that yellow, down in that yellow section, the yellow border down at the very bottom. That's the total of the 8 items. You see 4 million.
It's blank.
Oh, really?
The project's on original list but fell below the line. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's the only yellow line I see, and
Yeah.
it's blank.
Do you see that hand? That hand
Yes,
signal?
the cursor.
Cursor. Okay, that's your cursor, and that's blank for you.
No, you said the yellow line, so I was looking at the yellow line and it was blank. But you're saying the 4,621,312.
Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Additional funding you're asking for, and the figure below that, the 36 million, that's the cumulative of all these columns, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. That's added on to the reforecast budget.
But we now have 2.7 million over in the line item for fire and EMS on the SPLOST. Is that what you're saying?
Right now I just talked to Mr. Gable not long ago. We spent about $22 million out of the 32 million. So we have like 10 million left. And Mr. Good, you want to chime in on that particular?
We have 10 million left that we have not spent. And some of the items on this list were on the original list, right?
Yes, ma'am.
David Good, can you please help address Madam Guider's point and support Chief, please?
Yes, the original budget was 32 million. That was going to encompass everything that was including above the line. And we did the first reforecast, it stopped at above the line. And that ended up being that column where you see reforecasted budget of 31,643,907. That's how much we will spend, or we believe we will spend all the way up to the original yellow line. And what this is now showing, there's an additional $4,621,312 that we're asking for now. That will not only take care of fire station number 4 renovations, but it'll also build fire station number 9. It will give the equipment to fire station number 9, as well as replace the fire station, the fire
It was
engine that
on
we
the
lost.
list to begin with, is what you're saying.
Say that again, ma'am.
The 4,000,006, that was on the original list.
Some of them are on the original list, and the other parts are to request for additional funding in order to build out, such as we know that the original $3 million will not build fire station number 9. Therefore, we're asking for an additional $2.475 million to build that fire station. Now, that's one example. Another example is that with the equipment of $1 million, that amount of money would not be enough to fill that fire station up with a ladder truck, an engine, as well as a fire rescue vehicle, as well as a QRV.
So as of today, how much overage do we have that was never in the budget on sales tax dedicated to fire and EMS? Is that the 2.7 million over
I know
there?
if you go down to the very bottom where it says overage of SPLOST as of July 2021 revenues collected, there's an amount of 10.5 million, and the amount of 641,098, that amount is what the county's, that's the amount that we have of overage. And the county's portion of that is 7.6 million, and the amount for fire EMS is at 2,437,161.
So you
That's
want
the amount
to
we have now.
5.7 million of that 7.6 million.
What it is that 2.4 million is how much we have for fire EMS now for overage. That second number of that 2,964,000, that's how much we believe that we'll collect between now and between the last collection for the next 20 months. And the potential overage is that 5.4 million. And what we're asking for is the 4.6 million.
So you're asking to spend estimated sales tax? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, the 4.6 is how much we're seeing that all these projects together that the chief is asking for that would get us there.
Can I interrupt?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So just like the other SPLOST reforecasting, this is a tool, this is a plan. We're not asking to spend it tomorrow. We're asking to have you all approve a plan. Some of this would be spent, but it would be what we already have. We're not going to spend money that we don't have. So for example, Station 9, we're just in the design stage. By the time we get to awarding construction, we'll have a greater understanding of where our overage is going to be. But we wanted to give you a potential overage. And the key thing to point out here is in this section, we're looking at 5.7 million. Again, this is all projected, it's best case scenario. But the request is only for 4.6.
Okay, that explains a bit better.
Yeah. So
I just didn't understand.
Sure, the 2.43 is actual revenue as of July. We've already collected August, so that number will be a little higher. And then the 356 was the difference between the original budget and then reforecast budget, because some things came in a little under budget. We're not seeing too much of that anymore. And then that middle line that says potential overage is the estimate if we keep collecting strong. If we don't keep collecting strong, we would have to adjust that. But the key thing with each of these is it's a plan. And again, it gives us a roadmap and allows us to start the process of planning. The next agenda item, I don't want to get too far ahead, is, and Rick, if you can scroll up to the top of this, the reason we're bringing this today is the chief just got back from Pierce, and we have an opportunity to buy some equipment in very short order. And that's the reason we're bringing this, because it's a short string. If we lose the window, wait till next week or the week after, somebody else will get in ahead of us and we'll lose the opportunity and we'll be waiting 13 months to get vehicles. So that's the reason that we're bringing this forward today, because we are on a short string as it relates to the two. If you notice in the notes, it says 2 are available. Engines are available for purchase in October 2021, and 1 ladder is available for purchase in October 2021. That's the reason we're bringing this forward, because we have this very unique window. And I truly believe that that was because the chief was on site at Pierce and he was able to garner us a possible opportunity that we otherwise would not have had.
And we still had, out of the 2002 splosh, we still had over $600,000.
Apparently so.
My goodness. Okay. All right. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank
All of you.
Thank you. Thank you, and Madam Guider. But to that point, I'm glad Madam Guider brought it up. You got money sitting there since 20 years ago. Right? We didn't maintain stuff.
Crazy.
And we didn't maintain our parks. We had money to build a football field in Boundary Waters because you had money back then. Right? We built the jail, $150 million. Came in on time within $1,000, but y'all got all this money. That what is your priority? The county will do what it wants to do when it sets its mind to it. Right? But I'm glad her point was that, like, y'all got all this funding, so you have money all over the place. Right? I mean, that's what, 2-3 spots ago? Right? And there was this real need, and it's like, well, you had the current. It just speaks to, again, the discipline that we're moving towards, the maturity that we're moving to it regarding finances, having a single view of everything. Where are all the pockets of money? Where is my 16, my 2022? Where are all the funds that we can see it all at one time? This sleight of hand, and it's like, I get it. But I just want to make that point. So I just want to thank you, Madam Guider. That was a good point that I did pick up on regarding, again, so last question I have, and this is more of a friendly. So who's the chair of Fire EMS Committee?
Me, Madam Chair. I am.
You're back. Okay,
Yes, I'm
great.
back.
Then I'm going to do this as a point of context, because I think that was missing here in this conversation, Madam Chair, because like Commissioner Mitchell and I, where is this committee as far as what they're putting forth? And I don't know how much you heard of this, but it took about 3 people to help answer Madam Guider's point. So how about I yield the floor back to you as chair, and then I'll let you come forward and I'll answer my question with the rest of my peers. I yield the floor, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chairman, for taking the meeting for me just briefly. We know that we needed to reforecast the fire and EMS items as well and resources, because it's been done certainly for our other 2 categories, parks and recreation, and also transportation. And we apologize for the lateness, but we had some things that really moved us forward, such as a couple of items that our county administrator just mentioned that are time sensitive and will definitely make a difference in this county because of some of our, for example, our ladder truck that was ruined a couple of years ago. We have an opportunity to get that ladder truck to soon as possible if we could certainly reforecast, and you all accept this reforecasting tool that we brought forth. Certainly in the agenda, we knew, our committee knew that this is just projected increased revenue, and such as all the others, the transportation and parks and recreation, everything is merely a projection. So we were very intentional about all the items that we selected for movement as we continue to protect the citizens here in Douglas County. So I'm not sure how much the entire community board heard, but I'm hoping these items, we feel that these are the best items to bring forth, and our reforecasting tool right now is pretty solid. So any questions for this committee or myself, particularly, board? Okay.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Mitchell.
I mean, great dialogue, and let me say to the chief, I mean, great being on the spot and capturing this moment. And Madam Superintendent, thanks for kind of truly explaining kind of why we are at this point. So job well done. I think this is great news and great to know that, you know, we've got a nice, huge discount, and this project hopefully will move forward. And, you know, and I know it's time sensitive. And speaking of which, let me ask that first question. So Madam Superintendent, I think I heard you correctly. This is time sensitive because of the mere fact of if we don't act on this, we could lose this particular buy, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And I felt like you all needed the opportunity to decide up or down if you wanted to take it. I didn't want to wait and then say, our bad, you know, the trucks went to somebody else.
I'm with you. I just want that to be stated so my colleagues can hear that. I mean, because that's kind of what that's why this item was, you know, tossed onto the special call meeting. Okay, so thank you for that. But I guess my other question though, Madam Chair, who's your vice chair on this committee?
Right now, Commissioner Mitchell, I am the only person on there. I didn't have anyone that volunteered to be or agreed to serve as vice chair.
Okay.
So it is myself, and then of course we have our county administrator, our fire chief, and all the deputies right now, and then also our finance director that's serving.
Say no more. That's good. I was just curious. All right, I yield. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, board, before I call the question? All right, thank you so much, Fire Chief. We're going to call the question, I'll call the question board authorization. Do we have a motion to authorize and approve the SPLOST reforecast list as at an estimated cost of $4,666,313 for fire and EMS projects to be funded through the projected increased revenue from 2016 SPLOST funds?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion, board? We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes.
Yeah, yes.
Clerk.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, we have a 5-0 unanimous vote and motion carries, board. Thank you so much. And we're going to move on to our final tab, which is tab number 4. Board is authorization to purchase 2 Pierce Saber pump trucks, including equipment, and 1 Pierce Enforcer Ascendant HD 107 aerial truck, for a total of $2,336,465, utilizing 2016 SPLOST funds, and authorize the chairwoman to sign all related documents pending final legal review. Do we have a motion to approve, board?
Madam Chair, I need clarification.
Okay, well, what I'll do, board, before I call a motion, I will allow our fire chief to explain what this is for us.
I think these are included in item 3. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Madam Chair, you have a motion on the floor. I moved your motion, so now you need a second.
I didn't hear you say, yes, thank you. You said so moved. I didn't hear you, Commissioner Carpenter. Thank you for saying that. Do we have okay, we have so moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? And at this point, certainly, Commissioner Guider, do you have any discussion? And you may address the fire chief if you would like.
But I think these 3 items were on the list that we just voted the funding for, right? And this is just for him to move forward in the purchase.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Just clarifying, please.
Okay, no problem.
Madam Chair.
Any other questions, board, or comment?
Madam Chair.
Okay, Vice Chairman Robinson.
Yeah, County Administrator, confirm this, what we're doing here, since you set this agenda. Was
Yes,
it
sir.
voting item? Thank you.
Yes, sir. It is as you stated, Madam Guider. First, we wanted to have you see the funding plan, and now we're actually asking you to give us the authorization to issue a purchase order, finalize a contract, and move forward with procuring the 3 pieces of equipment.
Right, so so it's a purchase order.
Yes, sir.
you guys, this is the RFP, just remind me, because there's a lot of money moving today. And I know we're at the end, but one more time, I tend to have less, I let my peers drive this particular one. So, but again, so we're going to purchase something from somebody. Who is this somebody we buying it from?
This is Pierce. This is our,
Pierce. This is,
yeah, our premier, yeah, this is our premier manufacturer.
okay, so this was all, we already, somewhere along the way, it was already approved. And so while we're just putting it, it's almost like with the sheriff with his cars. I mean, I'm trying to understand the process in which we about to buy this. That's all.
I'm sorry.
We're about to issue a purchase order or something.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I neglected to say we were going to be using a Sourcewell cooperative agreement.
See, that's you got to pay attention.
Yeah, sorry about that.
So, as a committee, Madam Chairman, should we bid this? Should we RFP? I mean, we're using a cooperative. That was material. Right? That's like, okay, but now how y'all get here? It was smooth, I got it, but it's like, okay, I got to think about this one. But okay, I'm gonna yield. I mean, again, that was my point, which is like, okay, it's moving fast. And here we always say you got to pay attention to how this thing moves. You have to pay attention. And so it's like, okay, let me just think about it. I yield for right now. Thank you, County Administrator. Madam Chair, I'm good.
Okay. Any other discussion, board? Okay. Fire Chief, if you could just, for me, before we finish the vote out, if you could just elaborate, why we're here, and then also just the time sensitive, why this matter is time sensitive.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Identified.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, and Commissioners. Basically, we hadn't bought any trucks in a while, and right now we spend a lot of money on expenses for our reserve units as well as our front line. And this opportunity came up to, instead of waiting 12 months to 15 months to get a truck, we found some opportunity that will help meet our needs, the community and its department, to secure some vehicles that would be one thing that would decrease our expenses that we're paying, and also would help with our citizenship with our coverage. So we thought it was a good opportunity, and we want to present it to our Board of Commissioners, our legislators, to see if we could meet the needs of our department as well as the community. So Pierce is a great manufacturer, and have some good products, and they're going like hotcakes. And the emergency urgency, that's what it's for. This will probably be the last time we ever come up like this for emergency, but this is something that will help us on our bottom line and also help meet our needs for safety.
Thank you so much, Chief. Board of Commissioners, if there's no more discussion, we have a motion and a second on the floor. We have a motion and a second. Please prepare to cast your votes.
No.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, I was waiting on one more vote. Motion passed 4-0, 4-1, I'm sorry.
Okay. Board of Commissioners, we have a 4-1 vote and the motion carries. All right. Board of Commissioners, thank you so much for your decorum today, and thank you for your time and talent, and appreciate your time. And that the time now is 12:36 p.m. Certainly, I would yield the floor to you if you had any announcements of any sort. If not, we will adjourn this meeting. We have any announcements, Board, respectfully. Okay, with that being said, Board of Commissioners, thank you again, and this special call meeting is adjourned. Have a great day. Thank you.